There comes a moment, maybe it's now, when your breath feels heavier than it should, when your chest tightens, not from fear, but from the weight of everything you've almost become. You look in the mirror, and it's not that you see failure, it's that you see absence, a gap between who you are and who you could have been if belief hadn't slipped through your fingers so many times. Self-belief, they talk about it like it's air, invisible, vital, assumed. But what they don't tell you is that belief is not a given. It is forged, tempered in the silence of lonely nights, hammered in the furnace of failure, sharpened by the blade of rejection. You weren't born without belief. You were born with wonder, with fire, with eyes wide open to the world and arms outstretched to embrace it. But somewhere between dreams and disappointment, someone dimmed the light. They told you not to aim too high. They laughed when you said you wanted more. They handed you a script written in fear and told you it was your story. But here's the truth. That story is a lie. The real story, your story, hasn't even begun yet. And it begins the moment you decide, with your full chest, with your trembling hands, with your unsteady voice, to believe anyway. Because belief is not the absence of doubt, it's the defiance of it. Look at the greats. They were not handed belief. They built it, brick by brick, failure by failure. Walt Disney, fired for lacking imagination. Abraham Lincoln, defeated again and again before he became the spine of a nation. Oprah Winfrey, told she was unfit for television. They weren't special because they never doubted. They were special because they refused to make doubt their home. You are not the thoughts that haunt you. You are not the fears that chase you. You are the one who chooses whether to obey them or overcome them. And if no one ever told you this before, hear it now. You don't have to be ready. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Willing to walk when your legs shake. Willing to speak when your voice cracks. Willing to try again when the last time broke you in half. That willingness, that's belief in disguise. It doesn't look like confidence. It looks like tears in the dark. It looks like trying when nothing around you says it's worth it. It looks like planting seeds in dry soil, not because the conditions are right, but because you refuse to live without hope. The world is not waiting for your perfect version. It's waiting for your real one, the one who stumbles, the one who hesitates, the one who tries anyway. Do you hear that silence? That's not emptiness. That's opportunity. That's the voice of destiny waiting for your decision. And in that silence, belief is born. And it's born when you stop waiting for someone else to give you permission, when you stop auditioning for approval, when you stop begging for someone to see you and start choosing to see yourself. The world doesn't change when the conditions are right. The world changes when you are right, when your vision becomes louder than your excuses. When Edison failed 10,000 times, he didn't stop because the world believed in him. He kept going because he believed in the world he was building. So I'll ask you now, what world are you building? And are your actions worthy of it? Because belief without action is fantasy, and action without belief is exhaustion. But when you combine the two, belief and boldness, the universe has no choice but to respond. You're not broken, you're becoming. Don't confuse the chaos of transformation with the stillness of defeat. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to hurt. Diamonds don't form in comfort. They form in pressure. You are under pressure not because you're weak, but because something stronger is being shaped within you. You don't find belief in applause. You don't find it in easy victories. You find it when you stand back up again and again with scraped knees, bruised ego, and a whisper in your soul that says, I am not done. Because belief is not a moment, it's a movement. A movement you start every time you refuse to give in to the voice that says, you're not enough. Let that voice speak, let it scream, then walk right past it. That's belief, not loud, not proud, but relentless. And if you've lost belief, if you've forgotten how to hold your head high, then remember this. You've already survived the days you thought would destroy you. You've already proven that your strength goes deeper than your pain. Now it's time to own that strength. You can borrow discipline, you can learn skills, you can gather mentors. But belief, that's the one thing you must generate yourself. No one else can do it for you. And when you do, when you choose to believe again, even if it's just a flicker, even if it's just a fragile flame, you'll see something shift. Not outside, inside. The noise gets quieter, the fear gets smaller, the vision gets clearer. Because suddenly you're not waiting for evidence. You're becoming the evidence, and that changes everything. Because belief isn't a gift, it's a claim. And the moment you claim it, the world starts rearranging around your decision. You start walking differently, speaking differently, thinking in alignment, not in apology. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's small vision. You stop hiding your fire just because others fear the heat. You realize the battlefield was never out there. It was within you the whole time, and you were never fighting for approval. You were fighting for clarity, for that unshakable knowing, that still point in the storm that whispers, you were meant for more. The enemy of belief is not failure. The enemy is hesitation, delay, the idea that someday, somehow, someone else will do the work for you. But belief doesn't work like that. Belief demands presence. It asks you to stop looking backward, to stop waiting for the wound to close before you move. It asks you to move with the wound, to walk anyway, to rise anyway, because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more honest ones. People willing to stand, broken and bold, saying, this is who I am, and still I rise. Belief isn't just a mindset, it's a momentum. It grows stronger the more you act in alignment with it. And each time you choose belief, when you show up, when you try again, when you speak truth in a room that rewards silence, your capacity expands. Your identity shifts, because belief doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. And eventually there comes a moment when you no longer need to convince yourself, because belief has moved from your thoughts to your bones. It has rooted itself in your actions. You start waking up with vision, with purpose, with fire, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. That strength doesn't come from certainty. It comes from choosing to keep moving even when you're not certain, when you don't know how you'll get there, when the road ahead is foggy, when your hands are empty but your soul is full. Because you see, belief doesn't ask for proof, it creates it. It's not a reaction, it's an initiation. And if you've forgotten what it feels like to initiate, to be the one who decides, then this is your reminder. You were never waiting for permission, you were waiting for yourself, and now you're here. This is the moment everything changes, not because the world said so, but because you did. You declared it, you chose it. You looked at your past and said, you no longer define me. And then you stepped, one step. That's all it takes. Not a leap, not a transformation overnight, just one step in the direction of belief, and then another and another, until one day you turn around and realize that you've built a life, not from luck, not from applause, but from conviction, brick by brick, discipline by discipline, because belief, real belief, is not passive. It's aggressive, it wakes up early, it shows up late, it works while others watch. It refuses to be silenced by failure because it knows that failure is not a wall, it's a mirror. And that mirror shows you what you still need to sharpen, not what you need to abandon. The question is, will you keep showing up in front of that mirror? Will you choose to see not your flaws, but your forge? Because that's what this is, a forging. And fire is part of the process. There will be days where you question everything, days where you feel like a fraud, days when your reflection feels unfamiliar, not because you're lost, but because you're shedding the old skin. You're becoming new, and that discomfort, that friction, that's the stretching of the soul. That's the cost of becoming. No one escapes it, not the titans, not the trailblazers, not the legends. They all walked through the same fire. The difference is they didn't turn back. And neither will you, because now you know. You know that belief is not something you find, it's something you fight for. It's the choice you make daily. When you silence the inner critic, when you block out the noise, when you move toward your vision, even when the evidence hasn't caught up yet, especially then, because that's the test. Can you act in faith before the world validates your steps? Can you move like a king before the crown? Can you speak like a leader before the crowd? Because those who lead, who truly lead, do not follow applause. They follow alignment. They follow the beat of an inner drum that no one else hears. not because they're chosen, but because they chose themselves. And now it's your turn. You've waited long enough. You've doubted long enough. This is not the end. This is the ignition. The moment where your belief stops being a wish and starts becoming your weapon. Not to fight the world, but to forge your place in it. Because once belief becomes your weapon, you start to move differently. Not with arrogance, but with authority. Not with noise, but with presence. You walk into the room and shift the temperature. You speak, and the air listens. You decide, not because you have every answer, but because your conviction no longer requires proof. That's what the greats mastered. Not perfection, not certainty, but presence. They stood rooted in a vision the world couldn't see yet, and they lived it as if it were already real. That's the secret. Live it first, and the world will follow. But only if you do. Because the world mirrors your belief, not your doubt. And right now, right here, you get to set the tone. You get to write the rhythm of your days, not the rhythm of escape, the rhythm of alignment. You wake, you move, you create. Not out of desperation, but out of design. And when it hurts, you move anyway. When the plan fails, you rebuild anyway. When the vision gets blurry, you stand still in your faith until the fog clears. This is what separates the masses from the masters. The masses wait for motivation. The masters move with discipline. Discipline is the silent architect of belief. It's not sexy, it's not loud, but it is unbreakable. Every choice you make in private, the late night study, the early morning rise, the walk away from comfort, it all stacks, quietly, invisibly, until one day it becomes undeniable. Because that's the thing about belief. You don't need to convince people of it. You just need to embody it. And when you do, belief becomes your language, your way of being. It pours into your words, your posture, your eye contact. People feel it before they understand it. You don't need to say much because your energy already said everything. And here's what most don't realize. You're not chasing the goal. You're becoming the person worthy of it. Because if you don't believe you deserve it, you'll sabotage every opportunity that tries to hand it to you. You'll shrink from the spotlight. You'll second-guess the blessing. You'll question the open door and hesitate at the threshold. Why? Because you still believe the lie that says you are not enough. But let's break that now. Let's destroy the foundation of that lie with something more ancient than fear. Truth. And the truth is, you have always been enough. You were enough before you were chosen. You were enough before you succeeded. You were enough before the world noticed you. The world noticing is not the beginning. The beginning is now. This moment where you breathe in and decide, no more waiting, no more shrinking, no more playing at the level of fear. Because belief is not a personality trait. It is a spiritual posture. You stand in it, you move with it, you fight for it, and yes, you protect it. Because belief will always be under attack. From the outside, from the inside, from people who lost their own. People will doubt you, not because you're wrong, but because your rise threatens their comfort. They will mock what they don't understand. They will try to clip your wings because they forgot how to fly. But none of that matters. Because your mission is not to be understood. Your mission is to become. To transform from the person who needs belief into the one who generates it. Not sometimes, every single day, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because pain is not a punishment, and it's a portal. It opens the door to the parts of you that comfort will never touch. You meet your potential in the fire, and you either melt or you mold. So mold. Shape yourself in the image of your highest possibility, because this life, this one precious life, will not wait for you to believe in it. It moves, it shifts, it rewards those who are bold enough to claim it. And claiming it starts with how you speak to yourself. Your self-talk is your software, and every word you repeat becomes the code that programs your life. If you speak doubt, you'll live small. If you speak shame, you'll hide your light. But if you speak with belief, if you declare yourself worthy, if you train your mind to echo greatness, not someday, but today, then nothing can stop you. Because the world can take your money, it can break your plans, it can destroy your comfort, but it can never take your alignment. Only you can give that away. So stop handing over your power. Stop selling your birthright for comfort. Stop settling for maybe when your destiny is screaming yes. Start walking like the ground is yours. Start speaking like the mountain already moved. Start living like belief is not just a feeling, but your foundation. Because the difference between a legend and a ghost is that the legend chose to keep going. You must keep going, even when it's dark, even when it's lonely, even when the applause has faded and all that's left is the sound of your own footsteps. Because that sound, that rhythm, is the heartbeat of belief. You don't build a legacy when it's easy. You build it in the grind, in the invisible hours, in the repetition no one claps for. That's where the transformation happens. And every time you choose the harder path, the disciplined path, belief grows. It gets heavier, stronger, sharper, until one day you don't just have belief, you are belief. You walk like belief. You breathe like belief. Because you've stopped waiting for evidence and started becoming the evidence. Let that sink in. You don't need the world to validate you. You validate yourself through alignment. You validate yourself by choosing the hard thing, not for the praise, but because it's who you are now. And who you are now is unstoppable. You're no longer bound by fear. Fear may still knock, but it no longer enters. You've changed the locks. You've reinforced the gates because you finally understand. Your mind is sacred ground. And not everyone's voice deserves space in your temple. You become protective, not of your comfort, but of your potential. And every time you turn down the noise of comparison, and every time you shut out the opinions of those who never dared, every time you choose your vision over their validation, you step further into power, not power over others, power within. Because when your soul is aligned, when your habits match your destiny, when your thoughts are sculpted by purpose, you become inevitable. They can't box you. They can't distract you. They can't delay you because you no longer run on doubt. You run on conviction. You're no longer asking God, can I? You're saying, watch me. That's the turning point. That's when the old you starts fading. The version of you that needed permission, the version that needed applause, the version that waited. She's gone now. He's gone now. What remains is a force, a creator, a warrior. And make no mistake, you are at war. A war against the version of you that wants to stay small. A war against the mindset that seeks comfort over calling. A war against mediocrity, laziness, and the seductive pull of average. But you didn't come here for average. You didn't wake up today just to repeat yesterday. You came here to transcend, to rise, to build something that outlives you. And that begins, always, with belief. You will be tested. You will be doubted. There will be setbacks, betrayals, nights where you question everything. But hear this. Those are not signs to stop. They are signs you are becoming dangerous. They are signs that the universe is responding, not to your thoughts, but to your decision. Because belief is not given, it is earned. And the price is everything that's comfortable. The price is the death of your excuses, the end of procrastination, the burial of every story that starts with I can't. And when you pay that price, when you let go of smallness, what you gain is unbreakable. It's not hype, it's not luck, it's clarity. And clarity is the sharpest blade in the world. It cuts through distraction, through noise, through fear. It says, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. And nothing will make me turn around. That's the level of belief required to build something that lasts. That's the standard now. Not just hoping, deciding. Not just dreaming, declaring. Not just wanting, walking. And yes, the path is steep. Yes, the climb is long. But the view at the top is earned, and it's breathtaking. Because it's not just the world you'll see from up there. It's you, the real you. The version that always existed behind the fear. The one who didn't need to be fixed, just unleashed. And once you see that version, once you become that version, you'll never go back. You'll never fit in again. You'll never blend into the crowd again. Because you were never meant to. You were meant to build, to lead, to ignite others with the fire you fought so hard to protect. And your belief, your decision to rise, yours becomes the permission slip for others to do the same. You stop asking, who am I to lead? You start asking, who am I not to? And that question, that bold, defiant, sacred question, is the anthem of every soul who's ever changed the world. Now it's yours, and now it's your time, now it's your time, not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, not when it's safe, now. Because life does not hand belief to the hesitant. It reveals itself to the bold. And the bold are not fearless, they are simply finished with waiting, finished with mediocrity, finished with being a shadow of their potential, finished with begging for permission to exist in full power. That ends now. This is the moment where you stop hoping and you start claiming. This is the moment you declare, not to the world, but to yourself, I was not born to live beneath my calling. You were born to build a life so true, so aligned, so fiercely alive, that the echo of your actions outlasts the sound of your fear. So write your name in the stone of commitment. Etch your vision into the walls of your soul. This is not a phase. This is your becoming. And becoming isn't polite. It's messy. It's loud. It's disruptive. But it's the only way to remember who you were before the world told you to forget. So let go. Let go of the version of you that begged. Let go of the identity that was shaped by silence. Let go of the lie that says belief is for the chosen few. You are chosen. Chosen by the fire that still burns in your gut. The fire that refused to go out no matter how many storms you endured. You've already survived what others would crumble under. And you're still standing, and that's not weakness, that's evidence. Evidence that belief doesn't need perfect circumstances. It just needs a decision. And when you decide, really decide, you stop playing games with your greatness. You stop procrastinating on your purpose. You stop dimming your light for people who fear the shine. You rise, you stand, you become. Because this is what belief looks like. It looks like a soul that's tired of pretending, a voice that shakes but speaks anyway, a dream that's too big to keep hidden any longer. And if you don't believe in yourself yet, then borrow this truth. You are powerful beyond what you've ever allowed yourself to imagine. You are the result of generations who didn't quit. You are the product of every moment you could have given up but didn't. And now the torch is in your hands, not to carry for someone else, to carry for you, to light your own way, to set fire to the limitations that once kept you small, and burn a path so bright that others behind you find themselves in your flame. Because real belief is contagious. When you walk in it, fully, unapologetically, you don't just rise, you give others the permission to rise too. So rise, stand tall in the face of your own doubt. Laugh in the face of the voices that told you it couldn't be done. And move, not with fear, but with fury. The righteous fury of someone who finally remembered who they are. Because once you remember, once you taste what it feels like to be fully you, there's no going back. You don't fit into the old story anymore. You're writing a new one now, one where you are not the background character in someone else's dream. One where you take the pen back and start writing your own legacy in bold, in blood, in belief. And that legacy, it starts here. It starts now. It starts with a whisper that becomes a roar. I believe in myself. Say it until it shakes the walls of your fear. Say it until it becomes your default setting. Say it until the mirror no longer reflects your past but projects your future. Because belief isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning. And from this moment on, every breath you take, every step you walk, every word you speak will carry the vibration of someone who chose not to shrink, but to rise. So rise. Rise without apology. Rise without explanation. Rise without delay. And if the world asks, who do you think you are? Answer with a smile, a steady gaze, and a voice full of fire. I am the one who finally chose to believe, and nothing will ever be the same again.